I'd love to give back, but financially, I just don't think it can make sense.
What do you think would happen if all the wealth managers in the world would go on strike?
Not much.
What happens if all the baristas go on strike?
I'm pretty sure the spiritual health of this city would collapse. Yeah.
Do you think you are making the world a better place in your sales job?
No.
Hi, I'm Rutger Bregman. I am a historian and the author of the book Moral Ambition. Today, I'm speaking to bankers to ask them if their job makes a meaningful social contribution to the welfare of us all. So what do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a non-executive director now.
I work as an insurance broker.
I work in sales.
I'm a headhunter for the Lloyd's market, so insurance brokers.
Wealth management, look after people's money, give them financial advice.
Was that something you dreamed about as a little girl?
Of course not.
Not at all.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely not.
Does it make you happy?
You know what? It does actually. I like talking to people. That's my day-to-day thing. I enjoy getting to know people on a bit more of a personal level rather than being very transactional and superficial.
Look, we work on a trusted relationship with our clients. You know, people say, look, Gary, don't ever retire. I want you to look after me forever. That's kind of how it works. So it would be tough. People generally don't know how to look after their money properly.
What would happen if people like you would go on strike?
Not much. No, I don't think it would make too much difference at all. Maybe our clients would try and do it themselves, not be quite as successful.
What would happen if all the insurance brokers would go on strike?
People would struggle to place their insurance. The world would figure it out.
What do you think would happen if all the wealth managers in the world would go on strike?
Can I swear? I don't think it'd be a good idea.
Would it be tough for those people or would it be tough for society? Because I assume you work with very, very wealthy people, right?
I work with people. Yeah, most of my clients have £1 million or more with me. So I look after about 170 clients.
Yeah.
But they're my friends. Yeah. They trust me. I say to my client, if you were a client of mine, I'd say to you, look, I wouldn't do anything for you that I wouldn't do myself. And they kind of, understand that.
Do you help with their taxes as well and their tax planning?
Yeah, absolutely.
All kinds of complicated schemes to make sure they pay as little in tax as possible?
I like to keep things as simple as possible. Life is, short. We only got one life. Keep it stupid simple.
So what do you do for a living?
I'm a barista. Yes.
What happens if all the baristas go on strike?
I'm pretty sure the spiritual health of this city would collapse. Yeah. I mean, you can see it when it's people's favorite bit of their day when they come in, to get coffee and stuff.
It's one of those essential jobs, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, yeah. It's the only thing keeping anyone I serve going into their office, as far as I can tell.
There was this one recent study that estimates that around 25% of people feel that their own job is socially meaningless. Do you doubt the social value of your job?
No, I don't. I feel like we obviously provide a service and the service we provide is needed. But I guess everyone has their own doubts as to how much value that they can really bring to something. But I would say I have enough self-belief that not everything I do is completely meaningless.
People working in sales in their 20s and 30s get a lot of life skills that they can contribute further down the line. Yeah. I've learned way more than I ever intended to or expected to working for that business down there. I'd like to think I can take my skills from what I'm learning in my 20s and 30s and, world's my oyster, right?
Do you sometimes wonder whether you could have used all those years, as a wealth manager in a different way, right? We face big problems as a species, the next pandemic, global health, hunger, poverty, you name it.
Are we going into politics now?
It's not necessarily politics, right? Everyone...
I think your young lady said to me something about what makes you happy.
Yeah, sure. But meaning could make you happy, right?
I like going to gigs, listening to music. That's my main thing. And I've got 2 young boys, so I make sure that they're happy too.
We're in the middle of the financial district here.
Yeah.
Today, a lot of talent goes to, consultancy and corporate law and finance. Do you think that's the best allocation of talent?
It's their choice, basically. I would love for everybody to find a cure for cancer or to do other worthy things, but you and I know that we live in this world. It's reality.
Treading water these days is a little bit more expensive than it used to be, and so you don't quite necessarily have the space to explore those, slightly more romantic jobs or something that's a little bit more powerful or positive in the world. So a lot of people just do what they need to do to get by, especially if you live somewhere like London. Yeah. I mean, good luck getting a house or a mortgage unless you're on crazy money, and you kind of have to sacrifice maybe some of those ideals to get there.
A lot of bankers walking around here. They make quite a bit of money, but what happens if they go on strike?
That's a good question. I don't know. What do you think happens?
Well,
Am I meant to-
it's a leading question. No. I once wrote about this strike of bankers that happened in Ireland in
Oh, right, I read that in
1970.
your book.
Yeah. It's the only strike of bankers that we know of. It lasted for 6 months and nothing much happened, actually.
They all came back.
They all came back after 6 months and said, all right, we'll get back to work.
You don't think they provide some kind of? I mean, I'm a leftist, but I imagine they provide some sort of important mediating service, between financial capital and the rest of it. You don't think that's
We'll always need finance.
Yeah.
We'll always need bankers, but maybe not so many of them.
No, I imagine not. And
Not really being the objective journalist anymore now, am I?
No.
Behind me is George Yard number 2. And this is one of the most historic places in London, actually, maybe even in the world, because the greatest movement for human rights that the world has ever seen started here. So you got to imagine May 1787, 12 individuals with black hats, they walk into this building, and 9 out of 12 are Quakers, 10 out of 12 are entrepreneurs, and they are basically the founders of the British Society for the Abolition of the Slave Trade, which was just this extraordinarily successful movement that galvanized hundreds of thousands of people to fight the slave trade and then slavery. Now, ironically, it's a private equity firm. So allow me to be a little bit naive here maybe, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we would live in a world where quite talented people like you would be working on some of the most pressing issues that we face as humanity?
Yeah, have you got any of those jobs going?
Would you be willing to accept a pay cut?
To an extent, yeah. Like, it's not all about the money, of course not. But it is important. It depends quite what you mean, quite what the role is, quite what the pay cut looks like. But yeah, absolutely.
What do you do for a living?
I develop power projects in Africa. I used to work in finance for a bank in London and in Tokyo. And then this opportunity came up to make a direct impact, or more direct impact. So I thought that was interesting.
Fascinating. And did you have to make a kind of compromise? Did you have to accept a pay cut to work on something like this, or wasn't that the case?
Not so much cut in pay, but I guess less salary growth in the long run.
Like, what would it take, talented people like you, to quit their job and to fight the good fight?
Roadmaps, I think, details of the plan, way that their skills can be applied. Probably a short-term way of actually helping initially, while still maintaining their ability to eat and to sleep and put a roof over their head, even in the short term. Things like that. But yeah, like a roadmap, a definitive plan. I think people are perhaps interested in doing that with the amounts of shit going on in the world with other stuff. So yeah.
So you need a kind of Gandalf who says, I've got a plan, this is what you got to do, throw the ring into the mountain.
You're the Gandalf, are you?
We had a fire alarm go off the other day, and with me and my partner, we were thinking, wouldn't it be cool to be a fireman? Do something a bit different, give something back, or do something a bit more for the public sector. But I think there's a huge differential in terms of the money that you can make here in the private sector compared to what's in the public sector. So I think the Chief Commissioner of London Fire Brigade is about 55 grand. And to be honest, I don't think that's enough.
Can I ask you what you're making in your current job?
Yeah, 55.
55.
Which was why I thought the Chief Commissioner salary was pretty low.
I'm a historian. I spent a lot of time studying the British abolitionist movement, for example. It was founded by 12 individuals. 10 out of 12 were entrepreneurs or even financiers, some quite wealthy people. Right. What I admire about them is that they use their skill set to take on some of these great challenges and to fight the greatest moral atrocity of their time. But I don't see much of that today.
What do you want me to say to that?
Well, just your thoughts.
I don't really have a thought. I don't really understand politics too much. As I said, I like to keep things fairly straightforward to clients. I think I could do a better job in government or politics or talking to people and helping them with all walks of life.
So what would it take for me to convince you to quit your job?
A nice fat salary, doing something sustainable, and that's good for the world. That's what it would be.
Most of the best grads end up in, well, a good proportion of them end up in finance, quite frankly. So there are some people that really are driven and know what they want from a young age, but I'd say most people don't, and then they end up falling into something like this, and it ends up keeping them.
Do you think you are making the world a better place in your sales job?
No. I think yes and no.
What are you most proud of?
Being a good dad, being a good boyfriend, just being a good person. For me, that's the most important thing.
And what do you regret?
No, I don't have any regrets.